Welcome back to part 2 of Stories That Change Our Lives. And today's story, I first read in this book, Off Balance by Matthew Kelly. And this story just absolutely blew my mind when I first heard it. I mean, it blew my mind so much that I now work for Matthew Kelly at Floyd Consulting. And the story is called The Fisherman. The story is called The Fisherman. So there was this Harvard MBA, had millions of dollars, but his life was very busy. It was very noisy. It was very fast-paced. So he would allow himself 1 week of vacation every year to kind of just recharge his batteries. And he would always take as his 1 week vacation a trip down to Mexico in a small Mexican coastal fishing village. And this one morning, he's out walking around noontime and he sees a boat coming in. Already sees him unload a couple nice yellowfin tuna, and he goes about his business. The next day, he sees the boat come in at noon again. Once again, he's got a couple of tunas. But the Harvard MBA goes walking by, and on the third day, he sees the fisherman coming in again at lunchtime, and he can't stop himself from who he really is. And he walks over to the fishing boat, and to the fisherman specifically, and he said, "I see you come in at noon every day. And all these other boats, they're fishing longer than you." He goes, "Is there something wrong with your boat?" And the fisherman says, "No, senor, there's nothing wrong with my boat. It has worked perfectly for over 10 years. So then the Harvard MBA says, "Well, if your fishing boat's not broken," he goes, "why do you come in so early every day? Why aren't you still out there fishing, catching more fish, making more money?" And the fisherman says, "I catch 2 fish. That's enough. One my family eats. We share with our friends, and the other one I sell, and it takes care of our basic necessities." He goes, "Well, what do you do with all your other time then?" And he says, "Well, I get home and I like to take a little bit of a nap before my kids get home from school. And then when my kids get home from school, I like to play with them for a couple hours. And then once we played for a couple hours, we like to have dinner together and share stories, and I help them. And then he goes, I like putting them to bed, and then after they go to bed," he goes, "I like to go to the local bar." And he goes, "Because they have a piano there, and I like playing the piano and songs that make people smile." And then he announces, "Well, I'm a Harvard MBA." He goes, "I have great ideas for your business. I'm a Harvard MBA, and I've got great ideas for your business." And the Mexican fisherman, he is very, very polite, and he's at least a little bit intrigued. And he says, "Well, what ideas do you have for my business? What are you thinking?" And the Harvard MBA says, "First off, you're going to stay out and you're going to fish till dark every single day. You're going to still keep your necessities to a minimum, and you're going to sell all the other fish, and you're going to be saving that money. And then the fisherman says, "Well, after I've saved the money, what am I going to do with the money?" The Harvard MBA says, "You're going to buy a second boat. And then you're going to repeat the process, and you're going to buy a third boat. Then you're going to repeat the process, and you're going to have a fourth and a fifth and a sixth boat. And before you know it, you'll employ most of this village as employees under your brand." And the fisherman says, well, what happens after that?" He says, "You're going to keep accumulating boats, you're going to catch more fish, you're going to make more money, and then you're going to sell directly to the cannery, and you're going to cut out the middleman." And he says, "Well, after I cut out the middleman, what am I going to do?" He says, "After you've cut out the middleman enough, you're going to build your own cannery. And then you're going to bypass the cannery altogether. You're going to have a fleet of boats. You're going to own your own cannery. And you're going to be making so much money you won't know what to do with it all." The fisherman says, "Well, what happens after that?" The Harvard MBA says, "I was hoping you would ask that." He goes, "You're going to be able to leave this little tiny Mexican coastal fishing village, and we're going to relocate your home base to the mecca of business in the whole wide world. We're taking you to New York City, baby. And then we're going to keep repeating this process over and over and over again till you have your very own IPO. The fisherman says, IPO? What is that? And he goes, we're going to sell stock in your company. You're going to have a fleet of boats. You're going to have your own cannery. Your face is going to be on the box of fish all around the world. And you're going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then the fisherman says, well, what happens after that? And how long is that going to take? And the Harvard MBA says it's going to take at least 2 decades. But after that, and he kind of paused. He really hadn't thought that far. He didn't have anything. That was like the pinnacle. But then the light bulb in his head goes off. He goes, after that, you will be able to move to a small, tiny Mexican coastal fishing village. You'll be able to fish simply for pleasure. You'll be able to be home when your grandkids get home, and you'll be able to go to the bar at night and play the piano. And in essence, at the end, it was having the life that he already had. And I remember when I first heard that story, I was thinking to myself, man, I really just want the life of the fisherman. I just really want the life of the fisherman. And then I thought about it a little bit longer than that, and I realized it wasn't really what I wanted. And what I really wanted was in between the both of those. But I certainly knew I didn't want a noisy life. And Matthew, in the book here, he talks about if you find yourself a little bit wanting the life of the fisherman, it means there's some level of dissatisfaction in your life. And if there is some level of dissatisfaction in your life, it's very powerful to reflect upon it. And it's very powerful to reflect upon it because we all get blind spots in our life. And in the book, he talks about how really the idea of the story is getting in tune with that dissatisfaction, but that not a lot of us, we spend enough time in our lives thinking about the life that we really want. We don't spend enough time in our lives thinking about the life that we really want. As I'm looking outside, I'm on the water, I'm watching boats go by, and it's the life that I really want. But it started in essence with that story and getting very clear on what I wanted. So today I invite you to get with your family and spend some time thinking about the life that you really want. I'm not special. I was able to create it, and I know that you can too.
We hope that by watching our channel, you are able to take the steps towards leading your best life. Thank you so much for watching, and please hit like, subscribe, and share.